Hey, look at that. I did it right. Woo-hoo.
Yay! There we
Hey,
are. We didn't.
yeah. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Hereticals. This is Cult Conspiracies. I am Jay. This is my co-host, Claire. And today we are going to start our deep dive into the Cult NXIVM. This is going to be a long series. There is a lot to unpack. Today shouldn't be that bad, but there is a lot of stuff coming up that we are going to make sure that we put a trigger warning up when those episodes come around. So just be mindful of that. So yeah, how are you today, Claire?
I'm good. I'm good. This is a very interesting cult inside a cult kind of thing. There's a lot there. There's a lot of legal stuff which I like, and I'm very excited about it. I've been reading about it like all night. Reading about this stuff.
Claire's got access to stuff I don't think I could have found.
No, it's there. It's there on the internet. It's easy. This legal, you get paid, so you do legal stuff. If you like legal stuff, you know the different. There's a national, or a national website that you can, sign up for that has every criminal case, every civil case that goes on to most of them, except for places like Minnesota that wants to keep them to themselves, and a lot of the ones in California, like in Los Angeles, they want to keep them to themselves too. But everything else is pretty much there,
Well, before we start, I want to give a big thanks to See Things for becoming a new member.
Oh,
and I just seen Davros hit us up with something. It's not popped up yet. Hang on a second. It hasn't popped up on over here yet. But anyways, Davros, 4-month member, says, by the way, I'm in a cult of one. Love you, Jay Bear. Love you too, buddy. So Davros has had a long day. He's going to bed.
Yep. Good night, Davros. Yeah.
Get some sleep.
Yep.
And she thinks that's a lie, just a new member under a new name. Well, So what we're gonna do first is Claire is going to go over the legal proceedings of what's going on and say, what was I trying to say? She's Claire. Rewind.
Okay.
Claire's going to start us off with the legal stuff, the counts of what the members of NXIVM.
We're going to go over the original indictment of all 6 members that got charged. That's what we're going to do. It's the actual indictment. Yeah.
And this is to let you know who the characters are going to be. When she's done with that, I'm going to go into Keith Renery's youth and growing up to a certain point. Next week, we're going to go over a couple of the members that were involved with this and their relationship to Keith Renery. So 2 main players, Boucher and Salzman. So that'll be next week. But this week, we're going to start off with Claire, and I'm going to bring this up, and I'm going to turn it over to you.
And I'm going to spare them a lot of the legal mumble jumble. We're going to piecemeal it through and just give you the nuts and bolts of it and who the players are, rather than tell you all the statutes and things like that, because I don't think you need the numbers and things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we want to keep you here as we go. So we're just going to start up at the top to just let you know that this started all the way back in July 24th of 2018. So it's a closed file now, but it started way back in 2018, and it was brought by the Eastern District of New York for the whole United States of America. So it's a large criminal case. There are 6 defendants, Keith Renery being the main defendant, also known as Vanguard, and you'll hear that name throughout the document and throughout our whole series, he gets referred to Vanguard a lot. That was his name. There's Claire Bronfman, who is the Seagram heiress. There's Allison Mack, who is actually the Superman friend from the series. She's an actress. Kathy Russell, which is the bookkeeper for NXIVM. Lauren Saltzman, who is the daughter of Nancy Saltzman, who is the partner of Keith Raniere in most of his adventures from NXIVM and forward, most of their business ventures. As Jay said, she's one of two people that helped start the whole thing that we'll be covering next week. Nancy Salzman is also referred to throughout the document and throughout the series as Prefect. That was her nickname. All right. So the grand jury is going to come forward and they are going to say that Keith Raniere, who is known as Vanguard, was a founder of several pyramid-structured organizations, including but not limited to NXIVM, Executive Success Programs, Ultima, and related entities, and an organization referred to as DOS, the Vow, and the Sorority. In leading the pyramid organizations, Raniere relied on certain individuals, sometimes referred to as his inner circle, who were accorded special positions of trust and privilege, and Raniere, who carried out the directives. Now, the members of that inner circle are the defendants. So I'm going to skip over all of that and get down to what they are actually charged at. So that basically it just gives you a brief description of everybody, but that's going to get covered further on in the series anyway. Count 1 was, of all things, racketeering conspiracy. And they break up the acts, the counts into different acts. And they're going to, the reason they do that is because they actually had more than one person that this happened to. So they have Jane Doe 1, Jane Doe 2, Jane Doe 3, 4, 5, all the way up to like 60 different people. And each act is slightly different. So they may put one or two charges on the different acts. So for Racketeering Act 1, what it concluded conspiracy, but also conspiracy to commit identity theft and to unlawfully possess identification of Jane Doe. What that is they would take all of the documents of a person to prove who they were or why they were in the country, or even if they were a legal citizen, so that they couldn't prove their own identity. And they would take them away from them and make them like a prisoner of themselves because they couldn't go anywhere or do anything. It was like, can you imagine trying to function in society without your driver's license and your ID or anything like that? Like, they just stripped you of all of your identity.
Yeah, I also want to state that it wasn't just Jane Does. There are John Does throughout this too.
So they are.
So I want to make it clear for the audience that it wasn't just women they did this to. They also did it to men too.
Yeah, so they did take the documents of just about everybody who belonged to the organization. It was kind of like you surrendered everything and they built files on you also. So there's also another racketeering charge to commit identity theft. They also would clone accounts and take identity theft.
Hang on just a second, Claire. You're starting to break up just a hair.
Am I? Okay.
There you go. That's better.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Good. All right. So when we go down, the third act of racketeering, and as you can see, I'm scrolling. Look at all of these, and they're all the same. Okay, and they're just going to identify when it happened, where it happened, and who it was. We're going to start mentioning individuals here too. When they get to racketeering, I'm sorry.
Real quick though, See Things wants to know: are all the does underage? I don't believe so.
No, there are only 2, possibly 3 underage that they actually indicate throughout the documents that I was able to find. There are 3 underage people. There is counts against them for the minors on Raniere, not on the others. The Racketeering Act 5 includes money laundering. And this is where Claire Bronfman gets brought in, the Seagram heiress, and she was bringing in money and laundering money through other businesses and encouraging and inducing illegal entry of other immigrants and people and doing money laundering all throughout the United States and in New York. Uh,
Now,
there's also
before we go on, I want to state that the Bronfmans, there's actually two of them, the sisters.
mm-hmm.
They're both the heiresses for the like you said, the Seagram's empire.
Yes, they are.
Because we will get into this later, but just for clarification here, because we just with the money laundering stuff, they brought in tens of millions of dollars
Mm-hmm.
to Keith Renery. So,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, this is they weren't just they're laundering money; they were laundering millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. And there was a misappropriations lawsuit against them for doing that because of how they spent the money. There was like a whole big quagmire of a legal thing with the Bronfmans going against the sisters on how that money was being funneled into Rainier's businesses. There was big objection to it, and the family itself and the state was going after them for it. So that's another thing, another little legal thing on the side there for you, Jay. So the Racketeering Act 6 is trafficking in document servitude. This is where they are actually taking the documents of immigrants and falsifying or forcing them not to have proper documentation to stay in the country or to bring them into the country. And then we get into extortion, which happened a lot. They all through 2015 and 2017, all 6 members are indicated in the extortion throughout the state of New York laws. Violation for just forcing people to do things against their will by holding their documents, by threatening them with all kinds of retaliation, or denying them just basic needs, means of force, threats of force, fraud, coercion, you name it. I mean, every word you can think about for extortion was in there. Racketeering Act 8 included sex trafficking, forced labor, as well as state law extortion. And the reason they're breaking these up into little acts is you could see the Jane Doe numbers keep changing. And for each one, there is an incident that they're going to go into detail with, which for trigger warning, we don't do those.
Yeah, the sex trafficking one I wanted to show you here. Scroll back up just a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
Go back up to the start of this part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you've been reading along with us, I know we're going kind of fast. You've noticed in the previous charges, they'll show Renery, they'll show Salzman, they'll show Mac and everything. Those are all the Bronfmans. Those are the ones that are involved in that particular act. When we get into this one, you notice there's only 2, Keith Renery and Allison Mack. These 2 are the ones that were responsible for the DOS part, and the DOS is what will be in probably one of the last episodes, because that is where that is what has caused the NXIVM to be referred to as a sex cult.
And Allison Mack is indicated here as someone was a recruiter and organizer of that part of the organization, and where all the sex trafficking and even some of the minor child minor altercations against minors were indicated. They didn't say the word pornography, like child pornography. They said terms like inducing a situation to take visual evidence to promote photographs. Like they stretched out the wording and made it a little flowery, but basically it meant recording acts against children. So
True Hell wants to know that the cult is new to me, where they're only based in the U.S.
They did travel, but the base was in New York, in the U.S. Yes, it was. They did most of it, but they did travel. There was actually, I think, Rothman actually organized a trip and brought the Dalai Lama back. They did travel, trying to build up their reputation as a foundation for the betterment of people, and like a self-help organization type of thing. And so they did do quite a lot of traveling on with the money that Brofman put in there, to like a goodwill, just to build up their reputation. the most. But they stayed here in the United States as far as where they organized and where their main camp was.
Now there is a excuse me, there is um a branch in NXIVM, I believe, in Hong Kong and one
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in Europe. I want to say
Yeah.
Paris, but I don't remember if that was right.
Right.
But that part does not pertain to the actual DOS or the real
Mm-hmm.
bad stuff that we're talking about now. That was actually the company itself, which is it's basically it's an MLM.
Yeah, I was going to say that
So
it kept it pretty clean to just pyramid
yeah,
scam, LMN stuff. They didn't really touch any of that. They had not infiltrated the main part of this cult over into that. That was just people that they met that did offshoots. There were people that were part of the cult or came in contact with the cult and then just started the MLN part like over there. So, and Rainier did, although he traveled to them, and they did have things where they all got together every once in a while. He didn't have as much time and exposure to them as New York, obviously.
so
Another racketeering act is conspiracy to commit identity theft, forced labor conspiracy. That was mostly against Keith and Allison Mack and the younger Saltzman, the daughter of Nancy Salzman. And this particular one was in the holding of someone for over a year against their will in a residence. And that's what Lauren had to go against charges for that because she was directly implicated as the person who guarded the house. So we also have wire fraud conspiracy, mostly. This was mostly against Vanguard, Keith Renier, Allison Mack, and Lauren Saltzman again. It goes back and forth. Now we get into sex trafficking conspiracy, and you'll see that only Keith Renier and Allison Mack are listed in these two. And this went on for, they've got documentation from February of 2016 all the way through June of 2017. There are several counts of sex trafficking, and we got count 5. Count 6, attempted sex trafficking, which means that they had the purpose and the setup to do it, but it wasn't taken to completion. So it would be attempted. Conspiracy to commit identity, was it fraud? Theft on this one. They did a lot of caping of people's credit cards, of cloning numbers, of cloning IDs, of faking to be other people. In purchasing and in representation. So the rest here is like, Jay, this is going to be like the actual allegations of what they're actually saying those counts are. Do you want those read or no? Like, this is only like 4 pages, but it just it just basically is they cannot take the right. They're going to take the property. Here's the law. If they're found guilty with any of these properties, or if the acts happened on these properties and they actually own them, it's all going to be owned by the government. Like, it's all going to go back. It's going to become part of the property and the funds that is going to go into what we call in the United States the victim fund. You know about that, Jay? It's whenever sex trafficking or any of these larger conspiracy claims are made, once it's guilty, then a fund is started for the victims of them, and they're going to be making restitution out of it. So it's really just listing everything that may be forfeit that they know about for now. Okay, and we're going to get. There was one more part that I wanted to. Nope, that's it. Once they get to the forgery, those are all of the allegations. And the point I give is there's at least 7 major charges with at least 5 or 6 subcharges to each one, as you saw. Like there's
a lot of charges.
There is a lot. Well, when it comes down, like, I don't know if you want to still keep that up there, because when it comes down to it, at the end of it, is that's just what they indicted them on. So that means that's what they were arrested for. That's what they're going to be arraigned, and they have to say whether they plead guilty or not guilty to. Everyone pled guilty to some form of a lesser charge. when it all comes down to it, except for Keith Raniere. So the 5 women all presented themselves to lesser charges afterwards with some negotiation. And of course, that means that if they were going to give testimony about Keith Raniere, because when it came down to it, what they wanted to do is to set the table up to make sure that the person they felt most responsible for everything that happened definitely had a good solid case against them.
In the description, I did put a list of the sources that we've used just for this episode right here. Because like I said, there was a lot of information we're going to be bombarding you with. But so if you guys want to look into this more, there is all the links we've used for this episode are in the description. Couple things. Yes, see things. This is very recent. I believe this year is when Renery and Mac were both sentenced. Was this year?
Yeah, September and October of this year were the final sentencing of both Renery and Allison Mack. Yeah.
So, just to keep you guys fishing and reeling it in, our last episode will actually be covering the final outcome of what all the legal proceedings, what each of them got for their sentences and everything. So, but this part here was just an introduction to what we're going to be discussing as we go on for different episodes. So you guys kind of get a heads up on what's coming. So now, unless there's any questions for Claire about the legal proceedings, I'll give it a couple seconds to catch up. We're going to go into the actual Keith Renery background. I do want to say a good morning and hello to everyone in the chat. If I missed you, I see KCA Randy's here. Dr. Josh was here. Always good to see Dr. Josh. Really nice guy. If you ever get a chance to talk to him, talk to him. He's funny. He's intelligent. Just all around really nice guy. No, go ahead.
But there's only one question, and it's whether we have pineapple pizza or not. And I'm going to just tell them, we always have pineapple pizza, Virillion. It's always. It's a good thing. Yeah.
All right. So I don't have any cool presentations like Claire did because I took notes and whatnot.
What is a cool presentation, Jay? It's a legal document with a stamp on it. Come on, Lucas.
But everything I have in my notes, like I said, I pulled from the links that are in the description. So first off, what we're going to start with, I think this one is funny. This actually comes from Keith Renery himself, from his executive success program, NXIVM. This is what he claims happened. Some of this stuff we will verify as we go through. Some of the stuff is way out there, but that's usual cult leader stuff. A lot of times cult leaders, especially if you look at Scientology with L. Ron Hubbard, what he says he did just never happened.
I never thought to compare the two of them, but but here's the thing, though, Jay. You'd have to admit that Renery doesn't really present as crazy, does he? That's the scary part.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He does not. He's definitely scary, but he's not crazy. It's not like Hubbard. Like, that was insane. Like, why anybody believed anything that came out of a science fiction writer's mouth? He wrote science fiction before this, and then he just created a religion. Yeah. Like, it wasn't it supposed to be a joke? I mean, didn't anybody get it? Like, I don't understand.
Well, that's a whole different ball of wax. That's a conspiracy, multi-conspiracy, multi-cult episode in its own right. But KCA Randy says, when does the branding come up in the story? That will be later. That will be towards the end of the series.
That's definitely involved in the DOS part, the cult inside the cult, the mini cult. That'll be towards the end. Yeah, that's the last.
That's the branding is in the sorority, which is in the DOS, which was actually a subshoot of NXIVM itself. So that's where when we tell you there's a cult within a cult, that's the sorority was inside DOS, which was inside NXIVM. So,
Which was inside the MLN, which was inside the big network of business. Yeah,
yeah.
like
So, according to Keith Renery himself, Executive Success Programs, Keith Renery, co-founder of Executive Success Programming, is a scientist, mathematician, philosopher, and entrepreneur. As an unusually gifted individual, Mr. Renery's unique abilities were evident at a very early age. Among them, he spoke full sentences by the age of 1, was reading by the age of 2. At the age of 11, he was an Eastern Coast judo champion, which that was the only time I ever heard that one was on this. I've never, in all the stuff I've ever heard, I've never heard them mention him being.
There's video. I've actually seen video.
Have you seen video? I haven't seen anything with him in the judo stuff. At age 12, he taught himself high school mathematics in less than a day and taught himself 3 years of college mathematics by age 13. He plays many musical instruments and taught himself to play the piano at a concert level by the age of 12. He was now this one is actually true. He was entered in the Guinness Book of World Records for the highest IQ in 1989. Caveat, it was a Guinness Book of World Records from Australia. Which that was
what does that mean?
Because it was never posted in any other Guinness Book of World Records. It was only posted in the Australian version. And it was only posted in 1989. They never reposted it afterwards.
Well, that means it was challenged, is what happens. Yeah, when they pull it, that means it's challenged. Yeah. Okay.
He has been noted as one of the top 3 problem solvers in the world. He was a millionaire by the age of 30 and worth $50 million by the age of 32. Mr. Renery is perhaps best known as the creator of Rational Inquiry, the transformational model at the center of Executive Success Programs trainings. Rational Inquiry is a science based on the belief that the more consistent an individual's belief and behavior patterns are, the more successful they will be in everything they do. The invention, which Mr. Renery laid the groundwork for as a teenager, is considered by many one of the most dramatic developments in the field of human potential today.
That is basically they cultivated using body language, handshakes, and language itself to present a perfect business model picture at all times to get their way. It was very clever, very clever.
So
quite a few different techniques from different areas, and that were all melded together.
Now, what I've got coming up next is actually from Keith Renery's lawyers to the court about his youth. I will be interjecting some things as we go through here because there are some things that the lawyers didn't put in that has been verified.
Well, can you clarify? I just want to make sure I understand the first part. That's all coming from Keith, right? He wrote that?
That's
okay.
all from Keith.
It sounded just like he wrote it, you know. Okay. So, because I don't really think he was doing full sentences as a years old, but that's just me. That's just me. I mean, you know, I don't think so. But
I got one little thing I forgot to put here. Excuse me. Despite his extraordinary talents and accomplishments, what often strikes people most about Mr. Renery is how down to earth he is. He has a unique ability to relate to virtually anyone and is known by his friends as a prankster extraordinaire.
He is very likable. You've seen video, right, Jay?
Yep.
It's hard. It's hard not to get taken in. I can see how he's a cult leader because he doesn't present like a cult leader. He doesn't present like he's trying to convince you of anything. He actually presents like a free-thinking, intelligent, quite nice guy. Like kind of humble, you know. He like shuffles a little bit. He's like sits there unpretentious while he's like taking over your mind and everything else. I don't know. But you don't see it coming. He does not present as evil. He doesn't look.
Does not.
He does not. He does not.
So from Keith's lawyers to the court, this I forgot about this until I wrote this down. I'm like, oh god damn it. Keith Renery was born in Brooklyn on August 26, 1960. That is my birthday, 14 years before I was born. So I was not aware until I forgot completely that we shared the same birthday.
Wow.
Good Lord. Uh, his father, James Renery, was a successful advertising executive who often traveled and was away from home. His mother, Vera, I'm not going to even try to pronounce her last name, was a beautiful, graceful woman who was a professional ballroom dancer and dance instructor. So far, all of this is true. This has
Mhm.
been verified. Claire, we're getting that you're a little loud again.
Okay.
I know it might have been just adjustment because of the junk shopping.
All right.
Um,
How's
that,
that, Jay?
that sounds better.
Okay.
Um, so James Renery, which is his father, died in the spring. This was in 2018, I believe. Because of Renery's incarceration, the two had not spoken, were unable to acknowledge his father's illness or his passing. The small family did not have much money or material possessions. When Renery was about 6, the family moved to Brooklyn, from Brooklyn to Suffern, New York, in Rockland County. 2 years after moving, when Renery was about 8 years old, his parents separated and later divorced. In the years prior to the separation, the young Renery recalls his parents argued a great deal. It was apparent to Renery that his frail family was about to fracture. Now, this is also about the time they realized that, because Keith Renery is an intelligent man. Don't get us wrong. He's not as intelligent as he says, as you will hear in the later episodes. He was actually referred to himself, and others have referred to him as the smartest man in the world. Um, and we're going to get into that a little bit here later. But this, they before the parents had separated, they had him tested, and they tested high and tested gifted. So what that did is when they informed Keith that he was a very intelligent, very special, very gifted person, psychologists say that's when the narcissism kicked in for Keith. This is where he started thinking he was better than everybody else. He was smarter than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had to revolve around Keith. This is where he started getting manipulative with kids, that he was around. Was it about 8 years old? And as we get in a little farther, there's an example I'm going to give when he was about 12 that is going to show how devious he can be. So, like many young children facing the prospect of divorced parents, he thought deeply about whether there was anything he could do to stop his parents from arguing and prevent his family from ending. Without brothers and sisters or close extended family, that notion that his three-member family would cease to exist caused Renery unrelenting sadness. After his father left home, Renery would typically see him a couple times a week. Renery's father took him to martial arts lessons and was present in his life as possible. Now, I do remember the martial arts. I just don't remember him being a judo champion.
I just remember the white, the
Wearing the gi.
the gi, right, with the belt, and I just remember the wrestling part and this big smiling face. He's always got that grin, that present grin, and he looks right at you like he's very recognizable, even as a young boy.
So, in the years following the separation, the father had begun a new relationship with a woman named Sidney Delizio. One that would extend until the father's death. While Renery's father made efforts to remain in his life despite the divorce, even at 10 years of age, Renery could see that his mother, who suffered from serious heart disease, would be the primary source of support, comfort, and love. About 3 years old, when he was 13, his mother's heart condition grew worse and she had open heart surgery. In a sense, neither Renery nor his mother ever recovered from the surgery. Now, this is about the time where we see his Keith's narcissism really just take off in his manipulation. They're not going to mention this in here. Mind you, I'm reading from what his lawyers had put into the court, but these are things that can be verified. I believe a lot of the what I'm going to tell you is from the book Scarred.
And yes, that has a lot to do with DOS, Scott's the personal experience. Yeah.
And a lot of this is from Boucher, who also wrote a book. I don't remember what that book's name was. But she was Boucher, as we'll get into next week, she was one of the first women he
Mhm.
really got his claws into.
Mhm.
But no, go ahead.
Yeah, Scarred was done by Sarah Edmondson.
Yeah,
She's one of
okay.
the key players that helped bring down this cult. Her testimony and her going and organizing against all of this. So
So anyway, at the age of 12, he was having a relationship with a girl about the age of 10, and she had told him something about her sister that was supposed to be hush hush secret. As far as I know, what that secret was never told, but he would start using that tactic against her, saying, "It's like I got a little bottle of poison, and I can use it on you if you don't do whatever I tell you to do." And this would go on for quite a long time until finally he got to the point where her family actually stepped in and had to have him stop. Like I said, I don't know what it was. I've never heard what that was. I don't think they know what it was. Um, or if they do, they weren't telling what it was. But he would use this manipulation tactic for years on this girl before it finally come to a head where it caused so much problems, because he would make phone calls throughout the days and nights and would just call her and taunt her with I remember, I have control over you. I have this bottle of poison. I can use it you at any time. So that's like, this is at age 12. So this is where we start to see that narcissism, that controlling habit starts taking in, was really early.
I'm wondering if it was like some type of emotional blackmail or something he had on here, because like all throughout the cult they set up a process of files to keep against people to make them do what they wanted, to always coerce, to keep people in line.
Yeah,
So
I
I'm
said
wondering,
the only thing I know about that is it was something that the girl said about her sister that
right.
she wasn't supposed to say. So yeah, like you said, blackmail tactics is where
Yeah, he
basically where
just
it starts.
started a file at 12 on his own sister. Yeah, so that's pretty, yeah.
Oh, so okay. So during his high school years, with the exception of going to school, Renery spent a great deal of time at home. He did not pursue friendships. He did not travel often. He did not have many of the carefree pleasures some children find in childhood. Rather, he was devoted to his sad, lonely mother, who he knew was dying. Excuse me. On many occasions during Renery's adult life, he discussed what his life was like as a boy, caring for his mother, knowing all the while he might soon lose her. He discussed wanting to be a hero because a hero would save his mother. A hero would somehow transcend the self evident reality around him and change it for the better. He would also discuss later in life how people who turned out to be heroes did not see their lives as great or special in the midst of the struggle, but only saw this much later. Um,
Kind of makes you feel for him a little bit, just a
yeah,
bit.
and I think that was the whole point of this
Well,
lawyers.
their job is to the the defense lawyer's job right now is to paint him as human
Yeah.
against these charges. They have to paint him not as a name, not as a monster, but as an
Mhm.
actual human, just like everybody on the juror, as humanistic and as just like them as they can, with like a real childhood and real problems and real situations. Make him as close to them on the jury as he can. At least the good ones do.
Um, Perhaps because of the difficult circumstances he was in, Ranieri had something of a realization at a young age that he could deliberately and mindfully make a choice to be good, caring, considerate person at each moment for the rest of his life, regardless of the hardships. He realized at 12 years old that the desire and ability to change reality for the better, in a sense, being a hero, was a matter of character, choices, and practice.
Mhm.
By developing and exhibiting this character, he would stand up to the reality that was pressing on him. He started this discipline by committing himself to not harming animals or eating meat and to avoid being materialistic, which we all know later is just tossed right out the window. Despite his difficult circumstances at home, Renery excelled academically at school. He completed the 9th grade at Suffern High School, transferred to Rockland for 10th and 11th grade, but left high school a year early. As stated in a letter dated June 30th, 1977, from the headmaster of Rockland County Day School, Renery was a brilliant student of mathematics and science and certainly an adequate student of the humanities. As further reflected by the present tense investigation report, the PSIR, the letter from the headmaster further indicates that Renery applied for early college admissions and adds that Renery was probably as well prepared for college academically, socially, and emotionally as any of the high school seniors. The letter so far goes to state that Renery had outgrown all the school's learnings in math and science. At the age of 17 and having misgivings over leaving his mother, he started at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, New York in August of 1977, pursuing a demanding course of study, including high-level math and science classes. He returned home the following summer. Renery was returned to RPI for his sophomore year on Sunday, the day after his birthday in 78. The previous day was his 18th birthday. For his birthday that year, he had a celebration for his mother, giving thanks to her for what she endured and giving Renery the opportunity he had. And as he would later in life, it was one of the times he saw beyond the day-to-day struggles and attained a perspective befitting of tireless effort his mother devoted to their lives together. The tradition of using the occasion of Renery's birthday to take time to celebrate the efforts of others as well as the beauty and opportunity that life presented continued throughout his adult life. That's just a whole lot of mumble, blah, 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 blah. Look at me. I'm a nice guy. Yeah, Claire said, I like because see things I like. Am I going to have sympathy for this asshat, aren't I? And of course, Claire returns like, if you do, it won't be for long.
Well, it's
so
true.
one of the things I wanted to bring up here, because this is now, mind you, a little bit of a trigger warning here. When he to show his manipulation, kitty meowing at me. He was 22 and was in a relationship with a 15-year-old. And this is something I don't want to get into involved, but he used his manipulation on her to the point where even though they had broken off their relationship, he still continued to have relations with her because of his manipulations. He got caught sneaking into her room one time and by her sister, and he told her that she is my Buddhist goddess. So it's that type of manipulations that we will see continuing on throughout our course.
He started very young, wouldn't you say, Jay, as
Yeah,
deciding that the rules did not apply to him, that he knew the rules, but instead of making sure that he followed them, he found ways to craft around them to make it look like he was still following them and still get everybody to do what he wanted. He was very, very crafty that way and really thought of himself at as a young age as above it. Like he didn't have to do what other people did. There was always a reason that he didn't have to do it. He was either smarter, more talented, had a tougher life. My mom is ill. You know, he had all of these reasons lined up as to why he didn't have to do what everybody else did. He was outside the realm. It was easier for him to control the situation and manipulate it to get what he wanted instead of doing the right thing. Started very young, very young.
So we're going to get into what I have referred to as Keith's IQ. Now, this next part is going to revolve all around his intelligence because, like I said, he was a very intelligent person.
Brilliant.
He just wasn't as smart as he let on. So his biggest claim is Keith Renery is one of the smartest people in the world. Now, mind you, before we go any farther, this is not coming from his lawyers.
No, he wrote this.
This is from what he has said, what people around him have said, you know, that were in his circles and stuff like that. So, So Keith Renery is one of the smartest people in the world. This claim is based entirely on a single unsupervised test he took in the 80s. It is an extremely important claim since NXIVM since NXIVM purports to teach people life skill and deep trust about humanity and philosophy and success. Consequently, if it was true that the leader was the smartest than almost anyone else, he may know something the student doesn't. If, on the upper hand, the claim is bogus, then the student could ask, what does he know that I don't know and that I should pay him? Funny thing is, and I will get into this more tomorrow, Boucher and her husband were at one of his things, and she comes up to him, she goes, if you're the smartest man in the world, why aren't you out there trying to save humanity? He goes, I am, and would you like to take this journey with me? And that right there is what got them hooked into joining his stuff. It's the way he was presented it and how he came off. Just sometimes it just takes that right set of wording to grab people and snag them right in. So the super intelligent claim is the bedrock claim of NXIVM. The test that NXIVM uses to establish Renery as one of the smartest men comes from the Mega Society founded in 1982. It is a so-called high IQ society, and I didn't put the website in, but if you guys do want to check it out, I didn't even go to look if it was still up, but it's megasociety.org. One word. The Mega Society was founded by Ronald K. Hoeflin, and it claims it is open to people who scored at least a 1 in a million level in general intelligence on a test the society created. The Mega Society claims it is able to discriminate. It claims it is able to discriminate at that 1 in a million level. The popular Guinness Book of World Records once stated in the 89 Australian edition that the Mega Society is the most elite, ultra high IQ society, and is the Mega Society with percentiles of 99.9999 or 1 in a million required for admission, but offer no independent proof of this and is based evidently on the society's own claims. I don't know if it goes. I just want to check something before I open my mouth and say it again. Okay, yeah, it does say it at the end, so I won't go into it right at the moment.
Jay, do you see Trude Hall's comment there about the 3 books?
Don't call it a book, Natalie.
Aren't they the 3 I just pulled from the library? I showed you the pictures
Yeah.
the other day. They're exactly the ones sitting on my desk, Trude. I kid you not. Jay saw the pictures. They're like sitting right on my desk. Yep. Damn. They're good too.
See Things wants to know how many decades did he get away with this bullshit? A lot.
2 at least, and more, but more. I would say 2 actively. I'd say 20 years of active cult bullshit. Type bullshit. Prior to that, it was learning how to do cult type bullshit, I think, leading up to it. He actually was an entrepreneur. Like, it was quite clever, clever business type in the beginning, to market that new technique of convincing people how to buy things.
I keep saying Boucher, but I think it is Sarah Burnman is the one I'm thinking of, and not Boucher.
Do you think it is Berman? Because she's Berman. The one. Yeah, she's the one who wrote the one. Don't call it a cult.
I'm gonna have to. I'll know for sure by next week.
But Berman is an investigative journalist from Vancouver.
Okay, so that's not the one then.
Okay, the one who was very involved, but not from the beginning, is Sarah Edmondson. But she wasn't in the beginning. Like, she just was came up very high into the organization very quickly. But she didn't start it with them.
I said I'll know more. There's so many names.
We'll get them all down.
We'll get them all down. So
we'll start with those two.
So some notable people that have taken the mega test, meeting the mega society's entrance requirements, which society has used to validate its authority to judge the super intelligent, include Chris Langen, author and columnist Marlon van Savant, mathematician Solomon W. Golom, and former governor of Massachusetts and former White House Chief of Staff John H. Sununu, and of course Keith Renery. The problem with the mega test is that it is a test that claims what it is without anyone else agreeing. No other professionally designed and validated IQ test claims to distinguish test takers at a 1 in a million level rarity of a source. The standard score range of the Stanford Binet IQ test is 40 to 160. The standard scores on most other current IQ tests fall within the same range. A score of 160 corresponds to a rarity of about one person in every 30,000. The mega claims that its member achieved 1 in a million status or better. Now, I must remind you that, or I'm sorry, and I can't remind you because I didn't mention it before. I think it's a 48 question test, and Keith Renery scored 46 out of 48, which according to them put his IQ in the 180s. That he later, yeah, 180s. Now he apparently didn't like that number, so he bumped it up to 240.
What?
So 180 wasn't high enough. He bumped it. He said his score was a 240.
How do you get 60 points from 2 questions?
Because 180 wasn't high enough. He needed to be the smartest man in the world.
And let's just just reiterate that this organization that's doing this test that he belongs to and everything, this ain't Mensa, right? This is not the organization for IQ. No. This is like when you can't qualify for Mensa, is like something else on the internet you go run to do the test. No.
So the test author claims that the tests have been normalized using standard statistical methods. There's a controversy of whether these tests have been properly validated. Some claim the mega test is a non-standardized test. Here's the part of the reason why. To qualify for membership in the mega society via the mega test, aspirants must earn a corresponding score of 171 or more on a test accepted for admission by the society. Although no currently normed and professional validated IQ test yields such a score. Like I said, the Stanford Binet and most other standard IQ tests only go to 160.
But he's a 240.
Yeah. The society at one time had a journal called Neosis, and it was published on an irregular basis. Other serious problems with the Mega Society test is that it accepts members of the basis of untimed, unsupervised IQ tests.
Oh,
so basically,
it's a take-home test.
Take-home test.
That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay. I can see how he got to 240 now.
Oh yeah. It seems obvious that if the test is unsupervised and a test taker can take up to a year to complete it, there's no guarantee that the person who claims he took the test did not get help from others or a team of people.
Oh, I'm liking this more. I think we need to sign up, Jay.
I think we need to actually look into this and see what we can do. Chris, if you're listening, we'll bring up megasociety.org on Friday and see how smart we are.
And all of the six-pack is going to get scored. Yeah, we get to take the test home and poll the audience and use Google, Jay. We get to use Google to take the test.
I like what Raven said. It's called Mega Society. That alone should be a tip-off.
Yeah, exactly. It's reminding me, do you get like flashes of Megamind? You know, that... it's a little, too much coffee. I can't help it.
Renery, in an interview with the Times Union, said that the mega test takers are on the honor system. At the end of the day, an objective person might require more than this to conclude Renery is amongst those humans with the highest intelligence. What we have now is that Renery took an unsupervised take-home IQ test some 25 years plus ago, designed by a largely unaccredited so-called IQ society with only a
It's
handful
so
of members and a questionable method of selecting admission.
It's like they give you your IQ score like this, and then they take it
Take it away.
Because, no.
One thing I want to bring up here. This is where fabrication comes in a lot. And you'll see this with other cult groups too. So Renery attended Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Detroit. We already covered that. That is not up for debate. We know he was there. He said he graduated in 82 with 3 majors: biology, math, and physics. When Renery was brought up on charges, prosecutors shared that fact. Despite Renery's self-proclaimed genius, his grade point average was only a 2.26, and he only had a degree in biology.
Right.
Math
So
and physics.
he marticulated, like chose those to go for, but he never finished, right? He never really
Well,
did anything.
no, there's no indication that he went for mathematics or physics at all.
Oh, liar, pants on fire.
Yeah.
Okay. No.
So we'll cover more of this later, but I wanted to throw some of this in here. So after college, Renery became an Amway salesman. This is where he started getting his ideas for the MLMs. When he left Amway, that's where he started his Creators Byline, which had the participants require membership to be able to purchase discount groceries, discount item, blah 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 blah. Some things happened there. It went to court that it was basically a pyramid scheme, so Consumers Byline was shut down. That was after it had grown to 250,000 members across several states and was bringing in $33 million in annual revenue.
Was that the first buy in bulk type MLM?
Kind of. It was right around that. Yeah.
Yeah. Where they would just if you wanted a toaster, well, they would buy 100 toasters so that you all could have a cheaper price and everybody got a toaster, kind of thing.
However, it ended up under investigation by multiple states' attorney generals as a potential pyramid scheme. In '96, he signed a consent order in New York. He agreed to pay a fine of $40,000, accepted a permanent ban on participating in any chain distribution scheme. And in '97, this when Consumers Byline closed. So he's not allowed to be involved with any more of these chain distribution things. NXIVM is not that. I want to make sure that it's clear. That's how NXIVM got away with it, because it's not a chain distribution thing. And when we actually start talking about what an NXIVM actually was, you'll see how that is a kind of worked around. It's kind of skirted. In the 90s, he was also involved with the National Health Network, a multi-level organization selling vitamins. So that's basically his upbringing, him coming into what we're going to cover later. The next few episodes may be Renery light, because we're actually going to start telling stories of the actual members that are involved. But remember, he is involved in all of this, but we will be focusing on their relationships with him. Like I said, this episode was basically focused on Renery. Next week, we're going to go in. I believe her name is Boucher. I'm going to have to double check that. I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but now I'm kind of not sure if I remember it. And then Salzman. So Nancy Salzman.
She's interesting. She's very, very interesting person. Now, what age are we leaving him out right there? Around what age was that?
This was 96, so he'd be 36 years old.
And most of the nefarious activities start in the mid 2010, 20.
Yeah.
So we're
still looking at 20 years. Before the nasty stuff started. But there's a lot of interesting things leading up to the nasty. So
but I wonder if they like getting to know him, because he's quite the character.
Like I said, he's not. This.
Do you have
the 26th of August? See things. is the birthday. He was born in 60. I was born in 74.
Are you allowed to bring up a picture of him? I think they'd
Yeah,
be
yeah.
interested to see. I want them to see after all of that you said about him, because I keep coming back to this point. This is important to me to see how affable he is. They need to see this baby faced dude. Like they need to see how he does not look like a monster at all.
Well,
Um,
I'll just bring this up because we can
okay.
get multiple pictures here of him.
That's
Uh,
good to know. For yeah, look at
yeah.
this. Sandy, do you see? Like, look at that face. That does not look like a monster. He was smiling all the time. He looked, gentle, intelligent. When he was known to talk to people and look directly at them the whole time. When he spoke to you, you felt like he was speaking right into you, like right to you.
Mm-hmm.
Many quotes that way. That he had a way of making you think you might be the only person in the room, even if there was a crowd when he spoke to you.
This
It
is
was.
yeah.
Is that India, Oxenberg,
I
and
I think so. India
yeah,
and Keith and Allison Mack.
and Allison Mack? Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. See, yeah, I know them all. I know you. Um,
So there's a
there you
good
go. Now that'll tell you that the Lauren is there. Uh,
Lauren Mack,
uh right, these are
Nikki Klein, Loretta Garza,
all right. These
Rosa.
were at the end. These were the main relationships he was having at the time. This because you can tell because the two Spanish girls are there.
Yep.
And those were the relations he was having. The ones documented as having a personal relationship with a time
Here's
at the time of arrest and right
the
before.
this is the main six here for you,
Mhm.
as you
That's
can see.
Lauren Saltzman at the top.
Yep.
Okay. That is the daughter of Nancy Salzman, who is there at the other time.
Yep.
Down below, in the first set of glasses, that is Kathy Russell, the bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be Claire Bronfman,
Mm-hmm. That's
the Seagram
the
heiress.
yep.
Yeah.
And
One
that
of
is
the
Allison
sisters.
Mack.
And that is Allison Mack. Yeah.
Yep. So now that you guys know who we're looking at and coming into this here, I do want to bring up something because where did it? See, thing says, well, True Hell says, a few monsters look like monsters. Raven says, yeah, he looks like a total trustable guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brilliant says Bundy and Manson, etc., all looked approachable.
Well, I don't know. If you looked in the eyes of Manson, you did
Actually,
not. You did
Manson,
not.
Charles Manson at a young age did not have that
Mhm.
um, that psycho look to him.
No, at a young age, no. But at the
But
time
when
of the
but
nefarious business, he looked like he looked like a crazy. But like he looked at you and you went, "Those are crazy
yeah,
eyes." I'm
so
sorry,
just
that's
an
crazy.
example
Yeah.
we're gonna show here real quick. This is over here on the side. This was him.
I'm
You
sorry,
know,
that still looks crazy to me. Look at that smirk. Like, look at those eyes. No.
yeah, but I mean, we're compared if you look over like this one, little crazy eyes
Yeah.
and yeah,
Mhm.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we feel like you should. We'll look at Ted Bundy.
Weren't we just
Bundy,
talking?
yeah,
Go on.
but
The-
Bundy didn't look. I mean, he looked
no.
like. Yeah, of
Neither
course,
did
that's not
Jeffrey
Bundy.
Dahmer or Ed
Dahmer.
Gein or Jeff.
Well,
Any
Geen was a little weird, but he wasn't.
Eh,
He didn't look. He just looked like that old guy that you see around town.
yeah.
Yeah,
That you're not sure if you want to talk to or not. Like when he walk. Yeah, I get it.
yeah.
But
Um, so yeah,
you
monsters don't look like monsters. Some of the worst
never.
um,
Mhm.
killers
But
in history were nice looking gentlemen. I mean, Ed Kemper. He if you took away his huge stature, he was 6'9", 350
mhm,
pounds. But he was a nice looking gentleman. He spoke nice to the girls, and he was a polite.
mhm,
He was friends with everybody, but he turned out to be he killed 10 people. Ted
mhm.
Bundy was a very attractive man, very charismatic. He killed
Right.
27, I believe. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah.
But the other thing about Keith Raniere is not only did he have that affable look, that very humble look about him, that boy, the collegiate almost. When you say Jay, he looked almost like a studious, collegiate young man, very intelligent.
Yeah,
Um,
he was
but
very.
he also had a manner of speaking and a tone of
If
voice
you, I
when
wonder if I can pull up. Let's see if I could pull up an
you could
interview
pull
with
up
him
one
so
of
you
his
guys can.
little speeches because
Yeah.
he had a way of presenting himself that it just seemed like he was trying to connect with you, like you were important. When he spoke with you, you listened. Like I find interviews with him, like I know it's a little scary, I'm getting attracted to to a really bad person here, but he was so likable and so like you would feel a connection to him. And that is all the training that he tried to use and tried to get other people to do also, in how to manipulate conversations with body language, handshakes, language itself, in how things were structured. Even the way they sat during an interview or moved around while they were talking, it was all taught and planned out as part of the manipulation tactics for getting people to buy things to the MNF. Yes.
So I do have this one I just pulled up here real quick. This is from the Keith Renery Conversations. This is Allison Mack with Keith Renery here.
Mhm.
I won't play the whole thing because it's like 13 minutes long, but we
And
want to get
notice how
into.
he's sitting, and notice his body language here, because this is what he taught them. Watch. Yeah.
With authenticity,
Mhm.
because then it seems more like the creativity comes from a place of just originality or like soulfulness, if you're looking at it in a positive light.
You know, authenticity and creativity are an interesting match. We don't like to think of ourselves as robots. And if you are coming off as robotic, most people say that's somehow inauthentic. There has to be an inauthenticity to that because we're not robots. So what does it mean to be authentic? When someone's authentic, you feel them. You have this feeling of a soul.
So I don't want to play much more than that, but that gives you a good.
Did you notice the pull back and the pull in? This is a technique that they were using. This draws the listener in. That makes people lean forward to try to get what you're talking about. And you could see her moving forward. Like that was a whole example of what they used to do. Pull back a little with a couple words and then pull back in as if they're talking to you. They had manuals on it. I actually read one of the manuals. It was fascinating. But
Yeah, that's where Nancy Salzman comes in with the Chris has mentioned it before on Six Pack. We've mentioned it before and other things, but it's the neuro linguistic programming, and that's what she
That's
brought
the
to the
term
table.
that's the term I can never remember.
Yeah,
Neural linguistic
just remember
programming.
NLP.
Okay, there you go.
So,
Okay.
but I don't want to ramble on too much because we have a lot more to cover in the coming episodes, and me and Claire can talk about this all day.
Just sneak peek. We have been.
Yeah. We have
we
been
could
off
do
and
it.
on
Yeah,
for 2
off and
weeks now.
on for
So,
yeah. Amongst quite a few of the others, but this
yeah.
one's really good. This one's really good. Yeah.
So this has been part one, looking at the charges and those involved in the whole NXIVM cult, and Keith Renery's youth and his IQ. Next week, like I said, we'll be covering two of the first members of his inner circle, his start of the cult, I should say, and where this whole thing starts off. Really interesting. There was a lot of interesting stuff coming up. There was
And
a lot of. Go ahead.
one of those people gets charged in the end, and one
Yep.
of them is clear. So that's also interesting. That of the two founding women, only one went all the way to the end. So
Yep. So, I want to thank everybody that has joined us today. Thank you all that's been here. See Things, True, Native, Grumpy. Of course, beautiful wife Raven Verillion was here.
yeah.
Everybody else. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Chris was here earlier. I don't know if he's still listening.
Yeah, I think Peter was here.
Pete
Digital
was here.
Davos.
Davros was here. A lot of good regulars popping in and showing. Grumpy says, "Great show, Jay and Claire. Thank you so much." Like I said, a lot of stuff went into this first episode. So,
So we can bring pictures next for the next one.
yes, we'll bring pictures. We will bring pictures for the next one.
Yeah. So okay. So I'm going. Okay, I'm going to work on that. I got some ideas here. Thanks, number 42, and Claire. Thank you, Virillion. Thank you, because he's not right, is he? He doesn't like pineapple pizza, and he's a coffee hater. I can't even believe I'm up here with this dude. This is not good. But I will for NXIVM because it's that good, Jay.
Yeah.
It's that good.
True Hell says, talking in Rasputin, he might have been involved in a Siberian cult. They could have been fun to look at sometimes. I have looked into that cult. It was boring. It wasn't much. Rasputin, a lot of his stuff is so fabricated. It's hard to tell what's real and what's not.
Well, that's cultish.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's not him. It's other people trying to discredit him or make him more than what he actually was. Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna keep rambling if we don't shut this down.
I know. Okay. Zip. I'm not saying another word. Done. Okay.
Make sure you guys go check out Claire's channel. I didn't have it.
No.
I do have the Twitter handle. I don't have the actual.
That's okay. You see my name right like here? That's my channel.
That's your channel. Yeah.
You can find me. I'm everywhere, people. You'll find me. But we also will be doing, if you like this true crime.
Is that next week? Oh, hang on a second.
What's next week?
Thursday. What day is Thanksgiving?
It's a Thursday. It's always Thursday.
It's the 25th, right?
Well, it's a Thursday, and we do the show on Wednesday.
So yeah, you'll see us next week.
Right.
So yeah, we'll be here next week. Yeah, like Raven says, the Russian government trying to discredit the royal family. There's a lot to deal with Rasputin. Have looked into the conspiracy about the CIA head being injured in Germany. I haven't heard about that one.
No, we should look at. Maybe that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I've been doing pop culture conspiracy. The Daddy's Girls and Larry Millette for criminal charges. So there you go.
Like I said, make sure you check out Claire's channel. I am starting a new channel myself. It's called True Serial. And hopefully we'll have something coming up on that channel real soon. I want to thank Chris and Raven for pushing me into doing this, and for Claire for bringing this passion back for my true crime and serial killer stuff. So look for that in the future. There will be more information coming on that shortly. The channel is up, but there's just no content. If you want to look for it, it's just called True Serial. Thank you all for coming. This has been fun. I hope you guys learned something. I hope you're ready for the next coming weeks, because we're going to start getting deep into a lot of this. So for myself, for Claire, for Chris on here on Radicals, thank you all for joining us. Thank you for taking this time. Until next time, be water, my friends.
Bye, all.